I'm welcoming everyone to our today's panel. And the topic that we are going to talk about is integrating mobile platform teams into the organization. This is actually the close to us topic because we actually experience it ourselves in the organization, and hopefully sharing our experiences with you will help you to make the decision in case you're like in case it's relevant like to your organization. So first of all, let me introduce us quick. My name is German. I'm the mobile platform engineer within the team, and I'm here today with Tamir, who is a mobile R&D manager. And our agenda today is going to be that first we're going to introduce you to the Houzz products. Okay, the context is important. We are not going to talk about the whole business in general, but the only relevant part of the mobile, especially from the platform perspective. And then we're going to jump on and go to that mobile journey that we're going to see through the platform eyes. What are the challenges we encountered there? What are the tools that solves part of them? And what are the lessons that we learned from that journey? Then we're going to go to the specifications of the mobile platform team. We're going to give it some boundaries. We are going to make some definitions of the team. And then we are going to look at the takeaways from all this deck. The discussion, of course, this is a panel, and the questions and answers will be at the end. So first, the Houzz mobile products. As been told previously, I'm not going to go deep into the details of what we do in Houzz, but what is relevant to us today, that we have two native applications for iOS and Android with multiple complex features for each product, with millions of users and a large code base over than 10 years. With shared models. And yeah, this is what is important for us today for the platform perspective. At this point, I'm going to give a turn to Tamir, who's going to take you to the platform journey.
Thank you, German. So platform teams is not a new thing or not a new concept in engineering. It has been around for years. However, much like this is the first Mobile DevOps Summit, mobile platform teams is relatively new. And while there's a good chance that in your company you already have a platform team, it's very much likely, less likely that you have a mobile one. And the purpose of this talk is actually kind of provide a framework to talk about the similar, different kind of like stages that we kind of like identified in high level. And we're illustrate those and give them some color with personal experience from our journey. And hopefully you can find something you can relate to and inform the discussion later on. So let's get to it. So we actually split this into 4 stages, and we're going to talk about each one. Just keep in mind that each stage, it's not like a level in a game where you have to advance. It's just a framework for us to talk about. So first things first, stage 1 is where you actually have existing team members take on a specific task where they do not necessarily are related to the ongoing feature development. And actually, this stage worked for us extremely well for a number of years. And let's talk about kind of like what are the issues that we had and how we tackled them. So this is kind of like actually more than kind of like 5-7 years ago. And at that time, the tool sets and tools that were available were much were scarce compared to what we have today. And so the things that were impacting our team productivity were localization support, syncing all the strings in different languages to other services with translators, whether it was kind of like model parsing or serialization that we needed to write kind of like boilerplate code, and it was daunting, error prone, and we wanted to improve that. And even CI, not just kind of like cloud CI was not a thing back then. And yes, there were CI such as TeamCD and Jenkins. But when it came to mobile, specifically for iOS, when you had to have specific hardware, there wasn't kind of like any industry best practice. And even in terms of build, the scripts that were needed to automate the process weren't there as well. This is kind of like much before even when Fastlane was introduced back in, I think, 2017. And so we had to fend for ourselves and actually develop them. And so we did. Developers, volunteers, and develop them. So excellent. So now in our tool belt, we have kind of like three internal tools that we're maintaining, and that resolves some of our issues. As we're moving forward as a company, there are still kind of like issues that are kind of like brewing, and we'll meet them again in a later stage. So years go by, we actually as a company evolve, our product line evolves, our team more than doubles kind of like in size, and velocity increases, not only kind of like in check-in frequency or releases, but the amount of changes that we need to do for the project. But even so, it was still something that we were somehow were able to maintain as a stage one. Stage two is kind of like is optional, and what usually triggers that is where you have kind of like something that is a bigger task. And in our case, and we found that this is a common trigger, you have a cross-functional project across the company that you need, that you want kind of like to take on, and kind of like fending or volunteering, getting engineers from the team isn't good enough, and you actually want to form a task force. Now, at this stage, a lot of company actually go back and forth between stage 1 and 2. You have a task force, and then you disassemble that task force, and then again on demand. However, for us, after we did that kind of like that project, it was a pivotal moment for us where we actually took a second to think: do we want to dismember that team or actually move into stage 3, which means that we're evolving it into a team? And not surprisingly, we have. But more importantly, why? So if we talked about the stages kind of like 1 and 2, in that model, it meant that all our internal tools were actually developed in a distributed way. And that meant, to a certain point, right, if you think about as long as you kind of accumulate more and more tools that are unique to your company, even transferring them kind of like between developers or making sure that you're be able to prioritize them alongside the feature development can become an issue in itself. And therefore, we saw some benefits into actually moving to a centralized way of doing things versus distributed one. In addition to that, one of the biggest benefits was actually we saw a chance, now that we allocated those resources to begin with, is to actually identify issues much before they become critical and tackle them. And I think the GIF that I have here actually illustrates it best. This is Olympic sport, which is called curling. So you see kind of here, there's the feature dev. He's trying to release that feature, get to his kind of product KPIs. And the platform dev, actually what it does is pave the way. So anything that's kind of in the way or any obstacle is removed, so the feature dev can actually have the best developer experience and the best velocity in that term. So it might not look that the platform developer, or in this case, the curling member here in the team is doing anything, but it's actually doing a lot. And what's our approach for our team? So we focused on 2 tracks. One is strategic bets. Having dedicated resources, we were starting to think about our issues differently, and I'll give some examples in a minute. The second was having a structured way to actually support our developers and also other stakeholders for requests that were coming in, and having kind of like a more predictable way of meeting those needs in the organization. Great. So we have a team. Does that mean that now all of our issues are solved? Obviously not. So, but I did mention that it got us to think on our problems in a different way. And how so? So one of the issues was that as we have more feature branches and we had kind of like more products, we didn't have kind of like a structured way in terms of kind of like how to maintain the code, even though kind of like it was we were already transitioned kind of like into a monorepo. But that actually was straightforward and simple. Kind of like we use Git flow, which is an industry standard. The only thing was kind of like to educate the team. You don't really need kind of like a platform team to do a migration of that sort. And this is something that actually, and we'll get to that later, we would recommend adopting even on a day one kind of project. For the other issues, this is where actually kind of the platform team came into play, because the biggest issue that we had builds that were failing because of complex merges, because our reality was that we had a lot of moving parts in parallel. And as we were evolving kind of like our second project, the project structure was changing on a weekly basis. And therefore we needed a good way not only to maintain the project configuration, but have it in a way that it's easy to review in code reviews, and have a version control of kind of like the immutable state of the project. And that led us kind of to a code first approach using Twist. And there was actual ramp up that we needed to do that. And this is where the centralized approach definitely outshined a distributed one, because there was a ramp up that needed to even kind of like comprehend how to do that. And the dedicated resources allowed us to do that, while kind of like the project and the releases cycles, right? We didn't stop developing the project, was still happening. In addition to that, our on-premise CI that I've mentioned kind of like before with our scripts, it was becoming much to maintain, because if you think about it, we scaled in terms of kind of like builds, we scaled in terms of products, and also the demands from the stakeholders scaled, because not only kind of did we need to distribute nightly builds, feature builds for developers via kind of like test flight or app distribution, we also needed kind of to issue builds as early as possible to other stakeholders, whether it's kind of like analyst, design, and product, even if they don't have kind of like the full matrix of devices that we support. And that meant that we needed to integrate with yet another tool. That was kind of like a point where we needed to transition from an on-premise solution, and we indeed kind of transition into a cloud CI. Okay, so you have a team. So is everything great? Is it recommended for everyone? Well, everything has its pros and cons, and the common pitfalls that we've identified can be summed up to two main points. One is platform team actually becoming kind of like a catch-all team, meaning anything that is not kind of like properly defined or owned by one team or another is by default handoff to the platform team. This is a discussion that we've had from day one since forming this team, and we're actually having this discussion to this day. And to give concrete examples, one would be, say you want to introduce kind of like a new technology, whether it's kind of like Jetpack Compose or even kind of like Swift UI. Does platform team own it? Do they drive it? Kind of like what's their role in that? And this is kind of like a discussion that we have. And then even kind of like more clear example is shared components. So in both of our products, we're using a design system where we have shared components that we're working on the UI. And we've actually made a conscious decision that platform team does not own those components, because the feature teams knows it best, and they are closer to the product. The second issue is actually by design. So because we moved from a distributed to a centralized approach, it does mean that the other developers don't get as much chance to work on kind of like platform features. But we have found ways to mitigate that, and German kind of would elaborate on that in a minute. So, okay, in the beginning I said kind of like 4 stages, and yet I've mentioned just 3. So yes, there's a stage 4, but we do consider it kind of like somewhat different, because the only change between stages 1, 2, and 3 is the focus and how do you prioritize resourcing. And actually, we identify ourselves kind of, if we have to give a name, as a company right now, we're kind of in a stage 3. Stage 4 is where you actually, as a platform team, your roadmap is totally decoupled from the product, and usually it comes with a very kind of different skill set. And some of the real life examples that I was able to find were, for example, in Uber, right? They have a lot of mobile developers, and they have people focusing on compiler optimizations, because for their use case, even saving 2 to 5 minutes of build time per developer is huge. If you multiply it by the number of developers, number of builds, and that obviously is time saved, which translates to money. Second example is when kind of like the internal tools that you're working on actually mature to open source tools. And Xmetrics by Spotify is a great example where they kind of gather statistic of their build times from all the developers to actually monitor those issues. And kind of like last but not least, this is actually a paid tool that we can use by Emerge Tools, with what it does, kind of like a binary inspection tools to make sure that what happens kind of with your upsize in lunchtime. And the story behind that is actually it was developed by ex-Airbnb developers from their kind of platform team, where they actually used the knowledge that they had in the company, and once they left and forked of that, a totally kind of standalone product. So kind of what are kind of like the lessons learned, or kind of like things that we've gone through, so you don't have to. So say you're starting kind of like a project today. As far as it goes for CI, we definitely recommend going kind of like with a cloud CI. It's a fast ramp up, and it actually scales well, both in terms of performance as well as cost, if you think about kind of like the progress of the company and the number of builds that you have. Common sense, but still worth noting, having kind of like a well-documented process versus writing an automated tool. You should always have the discussion in terms of ROI. What is better? As kind of like developers, our tendency is always kind of like to write code, but sometimes, even though it's unpopular, a process might do the job just as well, and might be even better. If possible, always use kind of like industry standard solutions, such as Fastlane, GitFlow, or even kind of like Twist, because you get all the benefits of open source, while also all the benefits of open source, and also kind of like the benefits that if you're hiring new people to your team, they actually are familiar already kind of with those standards, and they're ramping up even faster. And mimicking kind of like from DevOps practices, where you have infrastructure as code, having configuration as code, whether it's your entire kind of like CI pipeline in version control, or project configuration in the case of Twist, that in our experience greatly kind of like improves both the predictability of the builds, the stability of your entire kind of pipeline, and ultimately improves the dev experience, even if you scale throughout the progression of your company. And kind of like to give what actually it means and how we tackle things for our team, I'm handing it back to German.
Thanks, Tamir. So let's look at the whole process um, with this a little scheme. So if we are going to the stage one or even beforehand, we had those product team busy not only with the feature tasks, that is the direct responsibility of them, but also handling all the issues related to the platform. Then, moving forward to the stage two, we knew how to separate those tasks and relate them to the dedicated task forces. But later on, coming toward the stage three, when we now have the platform team organized and ready to tackle all those um, tasks, we're actually going back to the state when the product team is busy with developing our product, developing our main components and features, and maintaining the product itself, which is great for the business. Now, if we are going now to like we have a platform team actually, somehow the organization has to process this. It's like the completely new team within the organization, so it has to have some definitions. So actually, we don't reinventing the wheel here. And if we look to the industry standards, we're going to find out that there are already platform teams defined in the other engineering areas, such as backend and DevOps. And we can learn from them and how they define their teams in order to apply some of the definition to us as well. So first of all, the main like definition of the teams, this is the centralized handling of the dev tools and processes and tasks. It's like think about it's like some code library which like focuses on something specific and concentrates some domains specific to that library and exposes public API to all the users, right? So in following this analogy, we actually see the same here, but regarding the processes, we are here to encapsulate all the hard parts and expose our services towards the outer world. The question is, who do we serve? Who are our clients, in other words? And we are assured that our main client is the developer, which we serve, right? So making his life easier, making him free to be busy only with the features and stuff that related to the product itself, and freeing him from those context switches towards the platform's issues. This is our main goal. However, we also have to define ourselves, the quality of our services. How do we assess our our services that we supply? And those engineering KPIs can be learned from the platform teams outside the world as well, such as the CI times, how fast our builds are, how the SDKs and maybe the analytic tools that we write, how crash-free they are. And we also have to understand that the platform team has a high mistake code, which means if we do our job well, probably it's not going to be seen even by the developers. However, once we do the mistake, if we are going back to this curling example, those plug probably might not reach a goal, a target at all. So now let's concentrate on the specifics of the mobile platform team, the things that can be applied only to the mobile team that we can like identify. And first of them, that mobile platform team might cover diverse areas. It doesn't have to be only DevOps or only CI/CD or only writing the analytics. It can actually be multiple. And this is because one of the reasons when we see that, because we are based on those mobile vendor platforms and we have some rules defined relatively well by the gigantic companies such as Google and Apple, and we have to follow the rules because eventually we distribute our product on those platforms. So those processes are predefined for us, and it's not like we have to question ourselves each time we decide to build a new pipeline. And regarding the engineering KPIs, there are some that relatively relative to us, that such as the application launch times, which actually affects the end user experience. Also, the architecture of the app, which eventually will affect the build times. And if you remember, when we started our presentation with this mobile platform context of Houzz, when you have two apps with multiple complex features, this actually influences the daily routine of our work in the mobile platform team. And it could be that in some other organization where the product is less complex, however, the amount of the application they have is much higher, their platform processes will look completely different. And related to the other thing that Tamir mentioned of how we get acknowledged the product team with the things that we do, because eventually we work on the same environment, we use the same IDE, we're still placed relatively close to each other. And the good way of doing so is organizing the Code Excellence Day, which is basically says that once in a month, the whole team is busy with handling those bottlenecks that they probably had during their daily development. And this is a great way to, first of all, help us not always we have sufficient task force and man hours to handle all the issues that we have on platform. So this help is really appreciated. And also this is a good way to be tuned of what's going on with the platform, because eventually, as been said, we are same team, we are same mobile team, and we are working on the same project. And the last but not the least thing I would like to talk about, this is the suitable person for a role. Who will fit the position? First of all, it has to be the technical person, because we are going beyond the defined mobile ecosystems, and we write tools on different languages. So any formal experience will really help here. And probably the first candidate for this position is going to be the former internal tools contributors, those guys from the stage 1 and stage 2 who contributed to the internal tools that we wrote. And also, one of the traits that we believe every mobile platform engineer should have, it's the proactiveness of the tasks that he's going to work on. Not always all the requests are coming from the developing team, from the developers team. Is also the responsibility relies on us as well to identify those problematic areas and create sometimes the tasks for ourselves. And we are eventually arriving to the takeaways. And a spoiler, eventually you aren't going to get an answer like silver bullet for us what to do if you have to create you don't have to create the mobile platform team. However, we can definitely say that, for instance, the team size isn't the only factor that will decide upon the introduction of the mobile platform team, because it is more about the project sophistication and the processes setup that you are currently handling. And as long as the business evolves and its technical release and demands increases, it might be something that can lead you to this decision of creating the mobile platform team. However, the centralized versus decentralized models is completely might vary by the organization, and we do know examples where those tasks are still being handled by the product teams. And optimistic note is that the status between 1 and 3 are they are replaceable. You can always go back and forth and see what works for you well. I'm referencing you to the lessons learned. Again, this is something that specific to us that we giving you as a tip and recommend you. And I believe we are going to, the question that remains is, does your company is a platform team? And at this point, we are going to discussions and answering the questions.
Yeah. So we have some questions.
Just read before. I think we have something from the.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a question here. Considering the skill set is quite different to members of the platform team, which compared to the product teams, how do you get the most out of the code excellence day? That's a great question. So the way that we structure our code excellence day is actually a hybrid of either you, even kind of like as a developer in the product team, if there's something that you've already kind of identified and you want to work on, this is something that will be kind of like the first priority, and we would like to promote that. Second, kind of like if that's kind of like not possible, we always kind of like try to keep a set of tasks that are readily available, kind of like up for grabs. If you think about it, this is the equivalent of having kind of like an open source project where you have kind of like where you have issues or tasks labeled kind of like help wanted, right? So that's kind of like the other thing. And kind of like before kind of like each excellence day, we post that kind of, and people either kind of like come up with tasks themselves, or kind of like sign up on something that's already there. And kind of like last but not least, there's always, which is again not kind of like mini project, but it can always kind of like be used to reduce technical debt, which you may not have gotten to beforehand. Great. Hope this kind of answers the question.
Guys, again, we're really sorry for the technical issues at the beginning. We should have more time for this discussion part. So yeah.
Any other questions, or maybe kind of like if you want to share your experience, you think you see things kind of like in a different way, feel free to chime in.
Yeah, we have 2 minutes left. So yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we have like, how do you communicate a change that affect multiple team features? Do you have a challenge or a lesson learned? Okay, sure. So one of the things that we kind of found very useful, specifically around kind of like big changes or architecture changes for a code base, and this is kind of like where both in Android and but in Android, like you already have those tools, and in iOS using Twist, this is something that we found very useful. Is instead of having kind of like, if you think about it, if you change around the modules or create new models, looking at the PR is very hard to kind of looking at that PR, it's very hard to understand what's really happening. And so our recommendation, we found it works very good, is actually have a diagram of a before and after, and then kind of like we're more focusing on kind of like the modular change, as opposed to going through a list of 100 files. And having kind of like configuration as code means that you don't have to manually create those documents. You can generate them from the setup that you have, and that has been, for us at least, for big changes, been a big game changer. I don't know if we have like one more minute. Let's see. We'll try. Do you see platform X functional teams? I'm not sure I understand the question.
Cross-functional. Maybe the question is if we have, as a platform team, to deal with this product issues.
Yeah. So I think the natural kind of course, kind of like the platform team, the mobile platform team, works closely with other platform teams in the org, and we do kind of communicate and sync on that as well. We're going to stay here and kind of answer questions after this feed is over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
And enjoy.